Ooh la la, ladies and gentlemen, what an absolute ding-dong at the Emirates. Arsenal 0, Paris Saint-Germain 1. And I tell you what, for a 1-0er, this game was eminently watchable. It was not a stink fest. It was a very, very high level of football. It demonstrated by both sides, Arsenal being really intelligent with press, counter-press, shape, going forward, and PSG being just sort of the same, but better. The difference for me was Arsenal's front line had Saka. PSG's front line had like 3 Sakas. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of the quality in Galacticos, the drop off from, and we'll show you some SofaScore ratings and stuff for stats and this, that, and the other. But I tell you what, that PSG team is just different gravy granules, mate. And Arsenal lose at home, which is bad. It's not impossible. To be honest, I thought going into this game, even if they lose 1 goal, obviously they had a huge absentee in Thomas Partey, which made them play differently because, of course, Marino is in the midfield rather than being that guy, that facilitator up front that not can only score but makes the wingers better. Thomas Partey will be there for Paris, which will push Marino back into the position where he's been doing so well for Arsenal. And they can beat PSG in the Parc des Princes. Of course, PSG have just lost at home 3-1 with their strongest team against Nice. So, you know, that happens again. Arsenal take them out of the Champions League. Of course, they only need to win by a goal to take it into extra time and maybe penalties. Although, Gigi Donnarumma in goal. Yeah, a ding-dong. Very exciting indeed. Must say, my inner Chelsea fan, although as a football fan, I look at Arsenal with like respect and yada 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 against the Parisians, whatever. As a Chelsea fan, I must say, very exciting at the prospect of them not getting a Champions League. It's not a Chelsea channel, but I have to represent myself. By the way, welcome back to Football Yannick. How you doing, friends? Mate, I'm going to talk about the game in just a moment in detail, but we are really, really, really closing in on 16,000 subscribers. In fact, I want to just double check now that we've not reached that total before uploading. We have, we're 23 subscribers off 16,000. So yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for supporting Detting. Please do consider subscribing and liking the video, etc. And yeah, dude, let's get into it. So this was the game. Ding, ding, ding. As you can see, really quite even in terms of field tilt. The majority of the first half, PSG were cooking Arsenal in terms of the play, and then Arsenal towards the end of the half and the beginning of the second really piled it on, and then it was pretty even throughout the second half. Arsenal were in this game in open play. Of course, there was a very, very early goal from Dembele, who's having an insane season and an incredible 2025. In terms of how the teams lined up, it's ostensibly a 4-3-3 for both sides. Raya and Gigi Donnarumma. The insanely offensive, in the footballing way, fullbacks of PSG. Hakimi not having the best game, as you can see there, but Marquinhos, the captain of PSG, really leading from the back. Nuno Mendes playing the better of the 2 fullbacks. Pacho, of course, partnering Marquinhos. The fabled midfield of Vitinha, who, by the way, is just an absolute joy. So is Neves and Ruiz, and of course, Zaire-Emery often rotates in with them. And then you got the fabled front 3, which, again, often rotates because it's either, I mean, you always see Kvaratskhelia and Ousmane Dembele starting. Dembele always plays the false 9, maybe more on him in just a moment. And really, it's between Bakola and Désiré Doué to play the third attacker. And Doué was chosen for this game. And he even played a lot of striker. Of course, Arsenal have not their first choice back 4, although Lewis Skelly's the first choice now, but Kirill coming in for Gabriel has been very good. So they've not really missed him so much, maybe on attacking set pieces, but that's kind of it. Saliba, Jurgen Timber. I mean, their midfield, Arsenal fans will look at this, lineup and Ødegaard, right? I mean, Ødegaard's having a bad season, bro. By his standards, Arsenal's captain. I know like people are speculating because he had his first child, I believe, that maybe it's understandably turned his life upside down. But yeah, certainly the weak link in this Arsenal team, in that midfield at least. And Declan Rice, of course, consistently high performer, with Marino, who is a bit of a success story. Saka looked really, really good. Like I said, he looks like a PSG player in terms of dynamism, ability on the ball, agile, like nifty. He looked like he could have like been in the PSG team, which is pretty much the biggest compliment I could offer him as an attacker in this game. Trossard, pretty pony, missed some chances, and Martinelli. Now, this was... Let me show you the stats as well, because this is going to be very, very interesting. And yeah, of course, look at this. Players out for Arsenal, lots. Players out for PSG, none. So Partey's a big one, really. I mean, Gabriel should be a big one, but because Jakub Kirill's been so good, it's not really been massive. So really, it's Partey in terms of how they play. And Havertz, I guess, because of... I mean, he's not a prolific goal scorer, but he kind of facilitates as well. So PSG had the majority of the ball at the Emirates, but was very, very close. Arsenal generated a higher XG, which is interesting because towards the end, Arsenal's goal felt like it was living a charmed life. Like, there was 2 chances very, very late on for PSG to make it 3-0. But yeah, Arsenal did have a better XG. Donnarumma performing well in goal. Only one more bigger chance. So, PSG will be happy to go away with the lead. Donnarumma, of course, standing up, being very, very good here. First half, this is what annoyed Arsenal, because they generated that really high value 2 big chances in the first half. And of course, Dembele scored the goal from maybe even less than 0.29 XG. And then in the second half, with less of the ball, PSG better. That's because they had those chances at the end, right? Just out of interest, let's quickly click on Ousmane Dembele. Yeah, his goal that he scored, maybe even less because this is the whole game. He generated 0.09 expected goals, and he scored a lovely goal, of course, which was in where was that, the 5th minute or something? 4th minute, bro. Dunked on them. Give and go, getting the ball back, took the shot early, literally posting in. Beautiful when it kisses the post and goes in like that. Ray has got no chance. And it really settled the nerves for the PSG fans. I mean, just say settle the nerve for the PSG fans in the stadium. The Ultras, they're a different breed, mate. They're literally next level. Like, they're probably all on something, all on the gear, but they just never stop. Before the game, during the game, after the game. They don't even breathe, bro. So, yeah, and then obviously they sat on that goal. They had chances. Arsenal had chances. Arsenal had a goal correctly ruled offside by assisted VAR. What's it called? Oh, my God. The special magic VAR. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. PSG thought they might have had a penalty at the beginning of Kvaratskhelia had, who was it? I don't know, I guess it was Saliba or someone, wrapped their arms around him. Lovely little cuddle in the box, but it would have been quite soft, although in Europe, often you see those given. I don't know, the Arsenal fans are very, very upset with the ref early doors, but he ended up booking 2 players apiece, Hakimi and Neves, and Trossard, and Saka. To be fair, the Saka booking was like a petulant, aggressive kick out with the ball after the ref blowing for a foul that was soft as butter, if not a foul. So I do have sympathy for Saka there. In terms of Arsenal good performers, Lewis Skelly looks great, and he was up against Desiree Doué, which was great, teenager against teenager. I think Raya was fine. I think Lewis Skelly was very good. Declan Rice, best performer probably. He's just consistent, just doing everything right. Maybe his free kicks weren't exactly what he wanted. And then I suppose Saka and then Marino's got quite a good rating here. But you look at the PSG team and they're just a joy, man. They're just so good. When Hakimi was disappointing, maybe Pacho, but Donnarumma in goal. Donnarumma fluctuates from being on fraud watch, and especially the game. Remember when they met in the league phase? Donnarumma was howling. He had an awful game. So to pull out some saves here and have a really good game, that will lay some ghosts to rest for Donnarumma. Um, yeah, Marquinhos is probably the guy shone in the back line. You know, you didn't have, maybe it's because of the tactical setup, but you didn't have the Hakimi and Mendes show like flying up and down and inverting and scoring and, you know, all this kind of crazy up and down, up and down. But for me, it's just the play, how they play through the press and the midfield. They just know Luis Enrique has got them total football again. But it's like a modern age, high octane, Gengen pressing total football. It's just the way they constantly fluctuate, know exactly where they are, always move, the way they play out. Arsenal are an excellent team. They're coached incredibly well, and they know exactly what they're doing. And in a world where lots of big teams don't always know exactly what they're doing, that is a real big positive. And the way PSG can just play through the press sometimes, amazing. Their midfield's just a joy. They're a great team. Donnarumma and goal, great. Marquinhos, obviously, long been a Galactico defender. Pacho's really, really good, sort of raising his profile. And then, of course, super attacking fullbacks. An amazing functional midfield that are just, they don't score goals, you know, the midfield, but they just, the functionality is incredible. And why you don't need to score goals when essentially your front three and your fullbacks score, and your front three score so many goals. Of course, the big signing was Kvaratskhelia, but he's humble, he's hardworking, he's so dangerous on both flanks, the way he moves the ball in, and, you know, he'll try and score when Raya goes off the line. Of course, Desiré Doué is just a teenager, and he's got the, you know, the gonads to try all the tricks and flicks. He looks, you know, like, he's like Barca. He looks like your Barcelona, Real Madrid wonder kiddies. Do you know what I mean? Like Classico wonder kiddies. Like, he's very much that. You know, Barcola's good. Gonzalo Ramos came on and he had a really good chance. And of course, Zaire Emery came on. But I want to quickly give Dembele his flowers because he is a leader now. He's in here. It took him a while. He's been around for literally a decade, Ousmane Dembele, yeah. Because he was playing at 17 for at Dortmund for Thomas Tuchel, wasn't he? He is, so he's 27 now. So he's been around for a decade. He's certainly been high profile for the 7+ years, very high profile, cost a lot of money to Barcelona, and then obviously he's gone to PSG, his native France, and it's taken him a while to get going. He obviously came as a winger. He came to play with Mbappe. Mbappe leaves. He gets dropped by Luis Enrique, Ousmane Dembele. He was dropped for the league phase game here. It just shows you how long ago. Because Luis Enrique had Gonzalo Ramos. He had Kolo Muani. Like really expensive number 9s. Proper strikers, true 9s. But he was adamant. He wanted to play with a false 9. He played with Marco Asensio, of course. He tried that, and then obviously it eventually got on loan to Aston Villa. He tried with Lee Kang-in, if that's how you say it. And of course, he's just found it with Dembele. And boy, has he found it. Because Dembele this season has got, like, just in 2025, his numbers are insane because the first half of the season wasn't great. But he's got like 35 goals or something? 34 goals, 9 assists. I mean, he's amazing. For me, obviously they won Liga. He's got that wrapped up. They nearly were going to have an invincible season, but of course they had that loss at home. If they win the Champions League, and of course Rafinha, Barcelona, whoever, yada yada, Pedri, whatever, Ballon d'Or shouts. But if PSG win the Champions League, I think Ousmane Dembele has to win the Ballon d'Or. He's just been insane. Like, he's gone Super Saiyan, bro. In Ligue 1, he's got nearly double figures for man of the match. He's just, and the fact how he's playing as a false 9, so he's racking up insane amounts of goals, but he's not playing as like a Benzema or Lewandowski in the box or like a poacher. He's running around, he's pressing, he's working really, really hard. He's he's rotating from both sides, and this wasn't the Ousmane Dembele of old. You know, he's really grown up and he's being responsible, and he's gone from being dropped by Luis Enrique to being like the main guy, the striker, and just in insane form, and deserves immense amount of credit. Look, it ain't dead for Arsenal. They do deserve respect for performing really well, but of course PSG taking a goal lead back to the Parc des Princes, especially after keeping a clean sheet, will be massive. It will be a different game with a different setup with Mourinho up and of course not playing Trossard, and they'll feel confident they can do something. They just need to feel like we need to beat PSG in a game of football, and they'll feel like they can do that with their preferred setup, which will be afforded to them in their second leg. But what a ding dong, what a great game to watch for a 1-0. Let me know your thoughts. As always, I'll thank you for liking and subscribing, and I do hope to see you back. So take care. Peace.